I remember the first time that I was fingered by a partner in both holes at the same time, and it was like mind blowing.
Welcome back to Other People's Lives. I'm Joe Santagato.
I'm Greg Dybec.
Just want to give a shout out to all of our patrons who are supporting the show over at patreon.com/OPL show. If you guys sign up, you are supporting the show, and you also get behind the scenes look at how me and Greg go through our process and how we set up episodes that we are recording that week.
Yeah, and today's episode, it's pretty simple. We got an email from a woman saying, I have 2 vaginas, and now we're talking to her today. So thank you for being on the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, I mean, we're going to get into, the details of everything, but like when I first read this email, there was only one question that kind of popped into my head. When you're saying like, okay, I have 2 vaginas.
Yeah.
And the question being, where is the second one?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the thing that I think confuses most people, especially when I just first tell them. So how it works is like my body, like there's the vagina and then there's the vulva, right? So I have one vulva like a normal woman. But it, like how I explain it is kind of like a wishbone. So like you can go like straight and then it splits afterwards, once you're inside. So it kind of like there's 2 sides, like 2 tunnels once you're inside.
Literally like a fork in the road.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about mine, and like every woman is different, or every person with a vagina is different. And so mine, like one of mine was way smaller than the other. And we'll kind of get into that more in a sec, but so one of them was kind of like naturally larger, and so for a long time I didn't even realize that I had 2 for like over half of my life, so that was kind of wild.
So how do you come to find out that you have 2?
Okay. So this is kind of the story. So when I was in like 8th grade, 9th grade, I kind of started feeling like something was a little bit off. Cause like at that age, you start like learning about your body and like filling things out and figuring out like, oh, what goes here? Can something go here? Like the normal kind of thing. And so I felt like I had 2 holes. And at first I kind of mentioned it to my mom. I was like, yeah, like, I think I have maybe 2 vaginas. And I remember her just saying like, well, yeah, you have like your opening and then you have your like hole that you pee out of and you have your butt. And I was like, Mom, I know that. Like, I'm like in 9th grade. Like I know like basic anatomy. And I was like, no, something feels kind of like off. Like, I feel like there's more to this. Because there's literally another hole. So, and so awkwardly, I was like, Mom, can you like take a look? She looked for like 2 seconds. She's like, oh, no, you look fine. You look normal. And she like, that was that. For about a couple years, I was like, okay, well, I guess I look normal. So I must be normal. And so the real discovery, and like I was sexually active too. Like I didn't have sex yet at this point. But like, I had partners like finger me before and stuff. And because one of my vaginas is like larger than the other, it would just naturally go that way. And it wasn't until I started using tampons that I noticed something was very off. So basically it kind of started out with me like putting in a tampon and then bleeding profusely anyway. And I was like, this is weird because I haven't even had sex. Like, the whole myth about like, oh, your vagina is like really stretched out. I was like scared. It's like, maybe mine's just giant or something. And my grandma would buy like the super sized ones and they'd still bleed everywhere. And that's kind of like what clued me in the most. I was like, this shouldn't be happening.
Okay. So it's interesting that you kind of felt it before you even realized it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like most people were like, "Oh no, it's just a hole." Like people don't expect people to have 2 vaginas. So like when I was telling them about like, "Oh, I feel like there's this extra hole," people were. I don't think it's not that they didn't take me seriously. It's just that it didn't occur to them that I might actually have 2.
So, yeah, it just seems like a so like far out there kind of thing. I mean, you said you were in 9th grade, right?
Yeah, like by the time I started using tampons, I was probably like 16 or 17. But like, yeah, like by the time, like at the start of this, when I was just experimenting with my body and kind of felt like something was different, yeah, I was probably like 13-ish.
Also, does this have a name? Like, is this kind of common?
Yeah, so sorry. It's the actual condition is called a vaginal septum. So yeah, how it works is like you can like different women's bodies are all different. I have a vertical septum, which, like I said, it splits up and down into two. But I've heard there are women who have horizontal septums that prevent them from actually having sex like comfortably. It can cause a lot of pain, from what I know. But again, like I haven't lived that experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is this like how is this? I mean, I'm not going to say how common is this because I mean I don't think it's that common. But is it super rare or is it fairly common?
So this is kind of like where I would get more into like my anatomy personally. So apparently, like what I have is more rare than what they normally see. So I think I'm not sure exactly on the numbers anymore. I think it's around 1 in 3,000 women are born with a vaginal septum of some sort. But generally what happens is like when you're being formed in the womb, if you have a vaginal septum, normally all of your reproductive organs are split, from my understanding. So like you would have 2 uteruses, 2 cervixes, 2 vaginas, that kind of thing. But for me personally, I have a totally normal uterus. My cervix is actually larger than normal, but it's still 1 cervix. And then my vagina just splits.
Okay, so how do you then find out, you know, the like medical name for this and kind of confirm that this is what you have? And you know, what kind of runs through your mind when you're told this and it's kind of confirmed, like, oh, okay, I have 2 vaginas. I wasn't making this up.
Yeah, so like at first good old Google honestly helped me out a lot because like I said, like I told people in my life, I think I have 2 vaginas. Most people are like, what the hell, mate? Like what are you talking about? Like what you on about? So I just started Googling it. I was like 2 vaginas. And like
Joe's definitely Googled that before too, but for a different reason.
So many times.
I know, right? Oh God. Yeah, and so I started looking up like medical articles and stuff, and I was like, wow, this could be something that I have. And I remember asking my grandma, like, hey, do you mind if we just like go to the doctors? And I didn't really tell her why, because at that point I wasn't even sure. And it's a little like personal, especially for like a younger person. Like I've grown into it, and it just feels like part of my identity now. But back then I was like, I don't even know what the hell's going on. So yeah, I just went to the doctor, and this begins my first great gynecologist story. So my family doctor, who actually helped deliver me, I went to her, and she laid me down on this table, and she's like, "Okay, we're gonna take a look." And I was like, "Okay," and I had like never had sex before at this point, like, and like the smaller vagina, which is on my left. I had never had anyone finger it. I've never tried to like shove my finger in it, nothing, right? So it was just like it almost was like painful, right? So she puts these gloves on, man. She like slaps them on, and they're like dry as a bone. Like, oh my God, it was like so bad. And yeah, she just basically shoved her fingers up inside me and was like, oh, okay. Just like checking around, and then she was like, yeah, I think you need to go see a gynecologist. So
She didn't even lube up the gloves or
no,
anything like that?
that's what I said. I was like, are you serious?
I thought lube was like a standard practice across all medical, like, you know what I mean?
Oh God, I know. And it
Jesus.
actually really hurt, like bad. And this is the funny part is like after that day, I've been able to use it sexually since. So I'm like, I feel like she kind of like low key took my like virginity.
Second virginity?
Yeah, my second one, possibly my first one, technically, I guess. Or I don't even know. But anyway, yeah. So
Wow.
that was pretty rough, honestly. And like,
Wait,
I
well,
don't know.
sorry to cut
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
off. Wait, I just realized what you said.
What?
So now you have two vaginas and you have like full sexual access to both of these holes.
Yeah.
So wait, okay, now I don't want to like break your path here, but like
No, go ahead.
how does that work? I mean, if it's like you're saying I'm picturing like a fork in the road.
Yep.
So like you could purposefully aim one way.
So basically, if my partner angles his hips like one way or another, it will go into one or the other. So there's like a technique.
Does it feel different?
Yeah. So that's the other thing is once my family doctor did that and I was able to actually use it after, I remember the first time that I was fingered by a partner in both holes at the same time. And it was like mind blowing. And I was like, this is like probably what it's supposed to feel like. You know what I mean? Because like before it was only one half of my body was being stimulated and the other half was just like chilling, doing nothing. So yeah, that was pretty crazy the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless.
I mean, honestly, it's really fun. Like I've had some funny stories with like hookups and stuff where like you're at the bar and you just meet somebody and you're like having a lot of fun and you're drunk and so whatever, you go back to your place and you totally forget to mention and like, you know, you're about to have sex and you're like, oh wait, hold on, by the way, just so you know, I have two vaginas and they're both like usually they're like also just drunk and so they're like okay. I'm like okay.
If I'm drunk and a woman tells me she has two vaginas, I'm like, well, I gotta see this. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, and like I haven't had a lot of hookups in my life. I think it's only been two people. So I haven't had to have that conversation like a lot or anything like that. But it's definitely something that not that I'm proud of it, but I'm like, I'm cool. I'm unique.
I mean, yeah, to own that and feel comfortable with it. And the fact that you get pleasure from both, which you can experience that and have fun. Like no man that you're ever with is forgetting you forever. Like he will think about you on his deathbed. It doesn't matter how many kids he has, how long he's been married. Like that's insane.
Oh my God. I know. Yeah. And, yeah, so yeah, like sexually, I find it really cool. And the other thing too is like, I don't know for all the women that are or people with vaginas that are watching your show right now or listening, like you know that first dip in moment, like I don't know what that's called, like the first insertion, and it feels so good. I get that twice, which
Everyone's
is really
jealous
cool.
of you right now.
It's really chill. Yeah.
Would a guy ever be able to discover this on his own or no?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
full disclosure, I don't know if I would ever know.
Well, okay. This is the thing: is you probably would because there's a fork in the road. A lot of times when the penis goes into my vagina, like it hits the fork.
Oh, so there's like it's like, oh, I'm kind of bending in here.
Yeah, and it's like it won't go in, which is like they're usually like, or not. They're not like anything. Like I tell them before, right? So usually when that happens, I'm just like, oh, it's just hitting the wall. Like
so it has to angle to one side.
Yeah, but then once it's angled, my body, I don't know if it like stretches out a little bit or just relaxes or loosens up or whatever vaginas do. After that, it's not like your dick's at a like 45-degree angle or anything. It's still straight. Because like the vagina is very adaptive. So yeah.
But like, so you know, with your partner, I don't know if you currently have a partner or not, but like, so is he purposefully like switching vaginas?
So I've had partners that have done that before, and I definitely enjoy it. I really like it, actually. It's kind of cool. Like one thing I haven't done yet is like put a dildo in the other one at the same time. But like because it's vertical, I don't know if it would necessarily fit. I haven't tried yet, but that's something on the bucket list. That sounds
intense.
Like two in like a 2-for-1 special, you're saying.
Really? Exactly.
Okay. If it would fit, got it.
Yeah.
Do you prefer one of your vaginas? Like, does one feel more stimulated?
What's your favorite vagina?
Oh my God, we got options, baby. So like me looking down at my vagina, like the right side is the larger one and the left one is the smaller one. So for me, I don't actually have like a favorite one. It's more so like once I've been stimulated in the larger one, then I can just move over into the tighter one, which is like also like good for my partner, but also good for me too. Cause yeah, it's just like a different side of my body that's being stimulated. So yeah, it's just more so like I do one after the other so that it keeps feeling good and like new.
This is unique, blowing my mind.
It's pretty chill. It actually is kind of like I was nervous at first to talk about it. I was like, oh God, this is like strange to talk about out loud. But I mean, I'm sure there are other women out there or people with vaginas, two vaginas that, you know, are kind of like, why am I bleeding still? This makes no sense. And so I thought I would, kind of go into it. But
yeah, no, totally. So, wow, was like clearly you're kind of, you know, happy with this outcome now, and I guess you're comfortable with it to an extent. But when you kind of first discovered this, was there any like doubt that you had, or did you kind of question like, why do I have two vaginas? This is going to be weird, or this is going to be awkward, you know, in dating and relationships?
Honestly, like when I found out, I'm pretty sure because it's been 5 years since I was 18, so I'm like 23 now. So I haven't thought about it for a really long time, but I think at first it was kind of like I had never had sex at that point, so I was like, how do I even, I already don't know how to use a dick, or you know, like dicks don't know how to use vaginas at 18 probably. So I'm like, how do they navigate to, and how do I do that, and is it gonna hurt? But honestly, like my first time didn't hurt at all, which is really cool. I know a lot of people don't have that experience, but yeah, I was just kind of lucky. I was really relaxed, and yeah. And then I don't know. Sorry, was that the question?
Yeah, no, yes. But now I have another question. The first time, so like the first time you had sex with a partner, did you access both vaginas?
I don't think so. I think the first time, so with my partner that I lost my virginity to, we were both virgins. And at the time, like he's like a very Christian guy, and I am Christian. I'm just like very more like liberal kind of Christian. And so I was totally fine with having sex and like that kind of thing. And he was like not, and it got weird. So we would have sex, and then he'd kind of like make me feel bad after we had sex. And so I didn't feel necessarily comfortable trying that with somebody that I like kind of couldn't trust, like how they're going to make me feel afterwards. You know what I mean?
So if you felt like you'd be judged if you told him?
Yeah. Or even like, I think he knew, but he also just like wasn't that into trying things. I think it went from his own personal like guilt with like around sex and like his faith.
That's a double sin.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, like, why is
twice the amount of sinning?
right?
Why is the devil tempting me with two vaginas? That's like something you would read in the Bible.
Oh my God, dude.
Dude, true. That's so funny. Oh God. So I think the first partner that I actually had sex with and like utilized to was actually a partner that was 10 years older than me, and he's awesome. To this day, we're like still really good friends. But he was very much like sex positive and understanding and concerned with me as a person, not just like, oh, you have two vaginas, cool, let's just use this. Right. He was very much like, I'll help you figure this out. As like, and he always made me feel like I was first, you know, like our friendship was first. So that really helped. But yeah, it was mind blowing, honest to God. Like, it's good. I'm always kind of like, you think you've seen something, you ain't seen this, bitch.
So this hasn't really held you back in any sort of way. If anything, it seems like an addition here.
Yeah. So the only thing kind of is that like for me personally, just on like a what is the word, like I don't know. Like for me, tampons, like my menstrual products cost me twice as much every month because I have to use double, specifically with tampons. So that part sucks. Cause because it's like twice as much money, and I'm a university student, so that's not the best. But
Wait, they make tampons specifically for this?
no, I just like when I use tampons, I just have to like shove one in and then shove the other one in after.
Oh, you gotta double up.
I gotta double up. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I guess if enough women have this sort of thing, that they would make products that would apply here.
The only thing is, so this is kind of ties into like my second kind of funny gynecologist story. So like while I was figuring all this stuff out, I was referred, like I said, by my family doctor over to this gynecologist. So I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe this person will actually know what's going on. And this is probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. And I didn't even do anything wrong. So I'm like, again, for any like woman who's been, or even man who's had to have like a little test done down under, it's really awkward taking your clothes off in front of like random doctors and stuff. At least I find it's really awkward. And like at this point, I still hadn't had sex, right? And so the gynecologist comes in. She's like, hi, okay, we're just going to like take a look or whatever. And so she kind of was like looking around, like poking around. And she's like, hold on, I'll be right back. And I was like, okay. She comes back into the room with this random guy, and he's got a clipboard. And she's like, okay, so we got like a little intern or whatever they're called. I don't know, in like the medical community. But she's like, yeah, we have this intern guy. And we've never seen this before, so he's just gonna be in the room like taking notes. So while I'm getting this exam done, and I'm so embarrassed, and she like had to kind of like pry my legs apart because I was like dying inside. And this guy's like looking over into my vagina, just like casually taking notes, and it was just like, whoa, it was a lot.
Yeah, that is awkward. And it's also like just one of the many reasons why women are stronger than men. Like you have to do that all the time. Like you have to get checked up and clamped up and things shoved in. Like
yeah, like when we go to the doctor and the doctor has to like hold your balls and like you have to cough. We're like, oh my god, that was so brutal. But meanwhile, like it wasn't like he was like inserting him like inside of, you know what I mean?
Seriously. So, well, that's a good segue into pregnancy and childbirth, and really curious, like, do you have answers to that? Like, could both vaginas get you pregnant, and would you be able to deliver a child normally?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So for me specifically, I have normal reproductive organs except for my vagina, and my cervix is technically larger, right? So I think that I have totally normal fertility. I'm totally cool. The only concern I have is that if I gave birth vaginally, would it rip me in half? Because that doesn't sound fun, personally. So that's definitely a concern. And I actually what am I saying? Sorry. I'm like blanking. I do this so much. I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm curious, like, do you know which one a baby would come out, or is it going to be like a mystery?
Okay, so sorry, that's what I was trying to say. So
like not the small one.
Yeah, right, the crossing my fingers. No, so when I when I put my fingers inside my vagina, like the larger one, I can feel my full cervix. The smaller one, it leads to what I can feel as nothing. Like I can't feel my cervix from that side. I'm not sure where the hole actually ends, but apparently it must end somewhere because I bleed out of that side. And I've gone to like a lot of MRIs. I've done multiple like examinations and stuff. And technically to this day, the doctors just told me, they're like, we don't really know. So that kind of sucks. And like I got an infection in one of my ovaries, that sent me to the hospital a couple of times. It was really, really, really bad. And the reason I wanted to kind of tell this story is because I feel like it's really easy to like cookie cutter people, and I feel like definitely medical professionals have a really, really tough job because I didn't even know what was going on. I don't fully expect people to also know what the hell's going on with me right away, but a lot of doctors and a lot of gynecologists kind of just assumed things and told me kind of like false information off the bat. They're like, oh, you have 2 uteruses. And then I would have to wait like 2 or 3 months for an MRI. And then they're like, oh, wait, you don't, because we just didn't check. We just assumed, and I think just like every person is different. And luckily, like in my case, it wasn't detrimental because I wasn't planning on having a baby anytime soon. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like still an area to be explored. And
so like, and that's the other thing is like when I had that pain, I found out much later through the hospital that I had just had an infection on my ovary. They are not sure what it was from. It's not like a sexually transmitted disease. They're not sure what actually happened, but it just happened. But when that was all getting figured out, I went to another gynecologist in the city that I'm currently in. And she was like, oh, well, it's just your period. Like, just take birth control and it'll fix itself. And I was like, well, first of all, like, I'm not comfortable being on birth control, just like hormones in general. So I was like, I don't really want to be forced into that if I don't have to. But also, I was trying to explain to her, the pain I'm feeling is not like menstrual pain. It was like sharp and I was like collapsing on the floor kind of pain, right? And I just feel like it's really this one lady, like it's good to listen to your patients, I think is what I'm trying to say. Like this one lady who was doing one of my MRIs, I was kind of explaining my story to her as she was doing my MRI in my vagina. And she was just like, sometimes like doctors mean the best 100%. But if you think something's different or something's going on, like sometimes you just have to be your own advocate. And I've never forgotten her saying that. And it's true.
That's important. That's not a message you hear too often, but especially the so many of us just go through kind of like the routine procedures, but for someone like yourself, and it doesn't obviously just apply to having 2 vaginas, but when it's that kind of mystery or something that's more rare, then for sure it's like if you kind of don't speak up, then it might be harder to discover what the thing is, what the issue is.
Yeah, exactly. So don't be afraid to tell your, healthcare professional, like, hey, I think I'm a little different. And if you're not, cool, no problem. Like they can figure that out too. But it's definitely worth because like literally it took me from 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah. So like a lot of years to finally just be like, I think something's actually happening, guys. Like, and like the other scary thing for me is like, I'm not, like I said, if I give birth one day, I'm not sure if it's going to come out of my cervix on one side or if it's gonna like rip me in half. So the gynecologist asked me, or she didn't even ask me, she was just like, oh yeah, we'll just cut it out when you give birth. And I was like, well, no, like I don't want to get rid of mine. Like this is part of my identity. This feels like part of myself. And I would prefer 100% not to do that. So I haven't 100% gone into like my options for birth because I'm not ready to give birth anytime soon. But yeah, it's still a mystery, honest to God.
Well, I'm assuming that also like a C-section is an option.
Yeah, I that's my biggest thing is like I would prefer to have a C-section, but I'm not sure if they're voluntary. I just personally haven't looked into it, so I'm sure people listening probably would know, or some people would know. But yeah, I'm not sure. But
yeah, but it's good you figured this out when you were young, by listening to your body, which is important, and not doubting those feelings because, the body doesn't lie in most cases. And you still get to kind of do your research. You still get to explore this, luckily, and you're enjoying it too. Like there's an element of enjoyment, which is really awesome, which is, I think, like the biggest mystery going into this that me and Joe were excited about is just like, is she using this? Is she like utilizing this? Is she having fun with it? And it's really cool that you are.
Yeah. And like, I feel really blessed that I am one of those people who has the ability to take pleasure from it. I know a lot of women, especially I think from my understanding, if you have a horizontal septum, it's very painful, or it can be, or you might not even be able to have sex properly without it being removed. So, like my gynecologist was shocked when I said I didn't want to get rid of mine. So it's not, I think from my understanding, it can cause a lot of complications for people. But like I said, I feel blessed that for me, it's been a positive experience.
That's so cool. That's cool. And like, to be honest, I don't know, me and Joe could never know, but I know of the existence of, women have to deal with getting judged for their vaginas. Like, that's a real thing. And unfortunately, it's a real thing. And I've been around some terrible men who have said terrible things and think that way, as if they have any say in what a normal vagina should be, or anything about a body, a woman's body, anyone's body. And that's that's kind of a shitty reality, but that, shouldn't be the case. So I think, like, you being an example of someone that is, kind of owning this, and this is something to the extreme with 2 vaginas, and still owning it and having that confidence and enjoying it, is just probably powerful for women to hear in general.
Yeah. And like, thanks honestly for giving me the opportunity to talk about it, because normally it's just with like random people. If I'm like going to the washroom and I'm like, hey girl, can I have a tampon? And then they give me one, I'm like, oh, actually, can I have 2? And they're like, there's always that fine line of either explaining why you need 2 or looking greedy. I just think it's like, even going back to like the anatomy of my situation, like I look normal from the outside, right? But like where the entrance is, I think for a long time, women don't really know what is normal, because you just see, and I'm not going to blame porn, because like lots of people that do porn don't do any kind of editing or altering of their bodies either. So I think everybody's body is normal. But I don't know, for a long time, I just looked at my vagina and like the inside part of my vagina from what I could see. And I'm like, wow, like, is this normal? Is that not normal? Like, it's probably normal. And if you're not sure, just go see your doctor. It's better safe than sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a wild conversation, I got to say. Like, I almost thought about it, like, and that's why my first question was like, where is the second one? Because it's kind of a ridiculous question, but it's also a question that I have to ask, like, right off the bat. Of like, it's probably not just like a full-blown vagina in a different part of your body, like on your leg or anything, but I just have to ask that question.
Well, yeah, no kidding. Like, it's definitely, even I had to ask myself that question, like, what is going on? I still don't really know where it ends. So it's definitely a fair question.
Yeah. But yeah, I we appreciate you coming on and talking to us. The thing is, it's a fascinating thing. And I honestly just this wasn't how I thought it was going to be. Like, you literally have 2 vaginas that are fully active, and literally even like a funny question of like, does your boyfriend fucking, switch back and forth from vaginas? And you're like, yep. And it's awesome. And you're like, wow, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. Like, sex has never been painful for me, luckily. Or like a couple of years ago, basically since I started having sex until like probably about a year ago, for whatever reason, like if the penis was coming from behind me, sometimes it was really sharp on my cervix. Like, I'm not sure what was going on with that. So, I mean, I think that's kind of a common thing with women, is like, if you go too hard on the cervix, it can really hurt. But it's, part of me was always like, well, maybe it's because there's something wrong with me. Maybe it's because I have 2 vaginas. Like, maybe it's just kind of hard to navigate, because most of the time, like, people don't have those answers, right? And it's not their fault, it's not your fault. It's just like, it is what it is, right? So it's kind of a matter of discovering what's going on and making it work,
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, we appreciate you coming on and talking to us. This has been really fucking cool to hear.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Before we get to our final thoughts, we do want to get to a sponsor for today's show, which is ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address and lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries. So just think about all the Netflix libraries you can go through. Like you could be in the United States, but you can sign into a Japanese version of Netflix where you can get certain anime shows that are not available on the United States version of Netflix. So it's kind of like being in this, being able to teleport into different countries and get different titles that aren't available in your country. But yeah, it has access to Japanese Netflix. It works for Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. There's hundreds of VPNs out there, but the reason why you want to use ExpressVPN is because it's ridiculously fast, right? There's no buffering, it's HD, everything is great. It's also compatible with all of your devices, phones, media consoles, smart TVs, and more. And if you visit our special link, expressvpn.com/OPL, spelled expressvpn.com/OPL, you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Okay, support the show, watch what you want to protect yourself at expressvpn.com/OPL. All right, so open your horizons to what you're able to watch with ExpressVPN. Wow. Okay. So she actually has 2 vaginas.
Good.
Two vaginas.
I know. Didn't you think there was going to be a little, like, some sort of caveat? Something like, it's 2, but one
medically,
is in my
technically,
ankle. Or, yeah.
Or like, how someone has like a third nipple, but it just looks like a pimple that's on their rib, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you got a third nipple. Like, nah, bro, this is a vagina.
Full blown
Vag. Full blown vagina. Got a double vag, which is wild.
Yeah. And
isn't it crazy that she can have, because listen, I'm gonna, full disclosure here, don't know too much about vaginas, straight up. There's a lot going on in there. I don't really know that much about it, just saying.
Yeah.
But as someone who has frequented the vagina from an outside perspective,
right, with the lights off,
yes, without a headlamp, I feel like she was saying, how the initial insertion feels a certain way, and then as the sexual intercourse takes place, it starts to it starts to loosen. Is not the right word, but you know what I mean? It starts to whatever, and I just think it's wild that she gets to have that feeling twice, where it's you have sex with this one vagina she's got. And then, after a while, still cool, the vagina's still awesome. But then you get to go to this brand new vagina, fresh out of the plastic vagina, and start over.
That new car smell.
New car smell.
It's the first insertion.
There's nothing
because
the
that
first
feels
insertion.
A certain way for a guy too, but it definitely feels better for a woman.
Big time. I think they have triple the amount of nerve endings.
Yeah, we suck. Yeah, but. No, I'm so happy she has just 2 functioning vaginas
and crushing it.
Yeah, just owning it. Doesn't want to. I guess they said that it could be removed, but
how do you even go about that? That's wild. But modern medicine could get rid of a vagina.
Yeah, no, but and I hope she finds all the right people through her journey that appreciate it, that can have fun with it the way that she has fun with it. If she decides to settle down one day, hopefully it's someone that appreciates what he has. If he's a guy, he probably will, to be honest. I mean, how would you handle something like that? If
2 vaginas?
If someone told you that.
I'm telling everyone that with her permission, but I'm telling everyone that.
Because I do wonder if there's guys who would feel weird or feel intimidated or feel or feel I don't know.
Well, there's one clitoris, so it's not like you're putting in overtime. It's not double the work here.
But you know what I mean. It's just anything that's outside of the norm. There's gonna be people, I'm sure, who would judge it negatively. I mean, I know that's hard to believe because what's better than one vagina? 2 vaginas.
A vagina inside a vagina inception. Great.
Yeah, but I wonder how common it is. I wonder if anyone else listening has this or will discover that they have it.
Yeah, maybe someone who's listening is like, you know what? I always thought that too.
Yeah.
And then, you know.
Yeah.
The
because that's
wishbone
cool.
thing.
Like, yeah, and good for her. Like, listening to your body, being direct with medical professionals to get answers. Like, that's cool. That's important. And then to just own your vaginas. Like, I know it doesn't mean much coming from us, but like I said, like, and I'm sure you too, like, you know guys who, shitty guys who do that. Like, it's whatever, if it's a power move, if it's, whatever, like judging her vagina, sharing stories about the perfect vagina versus like a bad vagina. And that's just dumb.
Nah, dude, there's
no such thing as a bad one.
that'd be so fucking cool. To have 2 vaginas. That's crazy. Like you said,
Yeah.
vagina is just one of those things that, like, the more the merrier, honestly. Like, if there was 3, that'd be cool too.
Would you want 2 penises?
Nah, because I think that looks weird.
Because
You know
it's
what
on
I
the
mean?
outside.
It's on the outside. It's on the outside.
Yeah.
But if I
That's
could
a
have,
lot
like,
to handle.
if I could, like, in the middle of sex, like, take off this dick, put a new dick on, and, like, start over, I'd do that too. Like, that'd be dope.
Yeah, that'd be. I mean, I don't know. I guess. Why?
And now this is.
Let's not go down
This
that.
has
yet.
this has become ridiculous. But anyway, for anyone watching this or listening to it, if you feel like you would be a good guest on the show and you have something to offer to the audience, definitely don't hesitate to hit us up. Go to oplshow.com, hit the contact page, fill out the form, send us an email, and if it catches our eye, then we'll hit you up.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram at OPL Podcast. Become a patron for behind the scenes episodes, a bunch of bonus episodes at patreon.com/OPL show. Leave a rating and review on iTunes if you want to do that. That always helps. And look, if love your vagina and find someone and be with someone who loves and appreciates your vagina too, because there should be zero judgment around vaginas.
Agreed.
That's it.
And that is all. We'll see you guys next time.